My name is Kira Dalton, and I'm 29 years old. There's a particular silence that follows a perfect insult. Not loud, not explosive, just the clean vacuum after the oxygen leaves. That's what a bouquet of lavender tulips sounded like when Sophie Blake floated into my birthday dinner, 20 minutes late, and set them down beside Julian Cross like an inside joke. It's sweet, she told him, smiling a shade too private for public lighting. You still know my favorites. A laugh ran around the table, brittle as spun sugar. I watched it shatter in people's throats. I was at the head, guest of honor, allegedly, but from where I sat, I could see every angle of what I wasn't meant to see. The way Julian's shoulders lifted and stayed lifted, as if trying to be taller for an old mirror. The way Sophie took the seat across from him, not beside me, and stacked her stories like kindling. Their professor who called branding personality laundering. The ski weekend that ended in a tow truck and a sunrise. I own a cybersecurity and access control company. My days are logs, timestamps, verifications, proof. There's a piece in clean data. Feelings are fuzzier until they aren't. You don't need a camera to know when you've been edited out of your own scene. Happy birthday, Kira, someone said. Right, that. Julian had planned the night, 8 of us at the place I'd been mentioning for months, a reservation you had to fight for at 7:30 sharp. He'd messaged the group chat with an enthusiasm that used too many exclamation points. Then, the day before, let slip a casual, "Oh, by the way, I invited Sophie. She's a friend now. Cool?" It was cool if I forced the definition. I forced it. Now the waiter set down small plates with tiny edible flowers. Sophie laughed at a reference I didn't have the key for. Julian tilted toward her, just a degree, like gravity was personal. Mia Chen, my friend and operations lead, caught my eye from 2 seats down. Her expression said, "I'm here." It also said, "Your call." I took a sip of water that tasted like clarity reheated. "We should do cake," Julian announced too loudly. She loves citrus. I told them lemon. The cake arrived, candles haloing my face in the reflection of a window that suddenly felt like a two-way mirror. People sang. Even Sophie sang. Julian slid an arm around my waist for the first time all night. "Make a wish," Mia said softly, and there was nothing pitying in it. Just a hand held out across a noise I couldn't cross any other way. I looked at the flames, then at Sophie's flowers, then at Julian's hand, heavy, late, performative. I wished for clarity. I wished for self-respect. I wished for the next thing I already knew I was going to do. I blew out the candles. "Thanks for coming, everyone," I said, my voice even and warm, like the kind a hostess uses when the party is over. I set my napkin on the plate. "I need some air." Julian blinked. "Now, we haven't cut." "I've lost my appetite," I said, and the quiet after told me everyone had been chewing the same thing anyway. Outside, the night felt unseasonably honest. There's a kind of cold that scrubs you. I stood on the curb under a street lamp and could hear the city ringing itself out. My phone vibrated. Julian. "Where are you going?" Julian. "Kira, come back. You're being dramatic." Julian. "It's your birthday dinner." I typed with hands that didn't shake. Me. "I'm not coming back. Not tonight, not ever. We're done." 3 dots. A call. I declined. Another call. Declined. A text burst from him that read, "You're overreacting," and then a longer one that tried to do PR for what we both witnessed. "She's just a friend. We share history. Be mature." Be mature. That spell people cast when they want you quiet. I ordered a car. I didn't cry. I didn't narrate this to myself like a heroine in the rain. I just stood there and let something necessary finish burning. At home, the foyer lights rose on a motion sensor I'd tuned myself to prefer a warmer temperature. The panel by the door blinked its comfort. System armed. Away. I disarmed with my code, a habit etched so deep into my muscles I could do it in sleep. My dashboard aggregates 1,000 tiny truths, entries, exits, who, when, how long. It's designed to protect what you love. I set my heels by the mat and looked at the monitor longer than usual. Rows of timestamps, names, codes, the neat, neutral certainty of it. Tomorrow, I thought, not tonight. Tonight I would drink water, wash off the restaurant, and leave the mess where it belonged, inside other people's choices. My phone pulsed across the counter, a stack of apologies, a stack of excuses, a stack of pleas. I muted him and set the phone face down. Somewhere in this city, a bouquet of lavender tulips was declaiming its innocence in a vase. Somewhere, the version of me who used to swallow small humiliations was looking for a chair. I didn't offer her one. I locked my own door, the bolt settling like a period at the end of a sentence I finally knew how to write. And in the soft hum of the ARM system, a thought arrived as clean as a line of code. Logs don't lie, and neither would tomorrow. The morning after my birthday dinner, I woke up before sunrise. My apartment was clean, controlled, nothing out of place except the air itself, the kind that feels like it's waiting for a verdict. Coffee first, then clarity. I opened my laptop and logged into my company's security dashboard. Normally, I check client systems before my own, habit of a founder who likes other people's peace more than her own. But that morning, I clicked home, Dalton Residence. The log was a timeline of my life in digits. Door opened, 8:12 p.m. Door closed, 8:14 p.m. Code entered, 4372, mine. And then, repeated, neat as fingerprints, 7674. I frowned. That wasn't mine. A pattern, once seen, can't be unseen. 7674. The digits pulsed across multiple weekends. Always the same days I'd been in Chicago, Denver, Portland, conferences I could map against my calendar like confession marks. I cross-referenced. The camera by the front door replayed an image that hollowed the air from my lungs. Sophie Blake, laughing as she typed the code. Julian behind her, carrying takeout bags like they were some kind of trophy. Not once, not twice, too many times to call an accident. He'd told me she was going through a rough patch, that she had no one nearby. Apparently nearby meant my house. I stopped the footage. I didn't need to see more. Proof has an expiration date. The moment after clarity becomes cruelty. I screenshotted 3 frames, attached them to an email addressed to myself, and closed the laptop. My reflection in the dark screen looked calm, detached. That's the problem with working in security. You stop expecting people to protect what they say they care about. I revoked all access codes except mine, changed the alarm pattern, logged every new line like a ritual cleansing. Then I did something Julian never saw coming. I went professional. He and I shared a few work overlaps. His company's branding department occasionally consulted with my firm for client marketing materials. I drafted an email to his boss. Due to a personal conflict of interest, I'll be assigning a new account manager to your project effective immediately. All existing service terms will continue uninterrupted. Thank you for your partnership. No explanations, just business. I CC'd Mia, my COO, and hit send. By noon, my phone vibrated again. Julian calling. I didn't pick up. At 12:31, Julian texted, "We need to talk, please. I can explain." I muted him again. At 2 p.m., Mia came by my office with 2 coffees and the expression of someone who already knew. "Do you want me to say it?" she asked. "Say what?" "That he's an idiot." "Not news," I said, but the corner of my mouth gave me away. That night, I sat on the floor of my living room surrounded by silence that finally felt earned. And then came the universe's sense of timing. 3 months earlier, I'd bought a rental unit downtown, 4C, same floor, coincidentally, as Julian's 4A. He knew I owned a rental, not which one. "Great location," he'd said once, scrolling through listings I pretended not to react to. At 7:48 a.m., my property manager texted. Tenant in 4C reported a ceiling leak. Might affect nearby units. Sending plumber tomorrow. The irony wasn't lost on me. The walls between 4C and 4A were thin, literally shared plumbing. I typed back, "Handle it, check adjacent units too." It wasn't revenge, it was maintenance. The next day, my phone lit up at 10:03 a.m. "Julian, what did you do?" "My apartment's flooding. Ceiling collapsed. Plumber says it's from next door." I almost laughed. Fate's timing has a wicked sense of humor. That evening, I finally answered his call. His tone was frantic, not apologetic. "Kira, where am I supposed to live now?" I took a slow sip of coffee. "I heard Sophie's got a nice place." A pause. "You know everything?" "I design systems that see everything," I said quietly. "You brought her into my house, Julian. Did you think I wouldn't notice?" Silence, the kind that confirms the crime. "I was going to tell you," he said finally, "when things calmed down. After my birthday? Or after you handed her flowers in front of me?" "Kira, please." "What you do now isn't my business," I said. "Your things from my house are boxed in the garage. Let me know when to leave them outside." "You can't!" "I already did." He exhaled hard. "You're ruining my life over one mistake." "One mistake?" I repeated softly. You've been walking through my door for months with her. That's not a mistake. That's a pattern. He tried to salvage pride. Maybe we were meant to be, Sophie and I. Then congratulations, I said. Enjoy the renovation. I hung up. Then I poured myself a drink, turned on my security feed one last time, and deleted his access forever. The system chimed. User Julian Cross, removed. The sound was cleaner than any apology he could have given. The next morning, Mia called, voice buzzing with disbelief. You've seen Sophie's socials? No. She's already posting quotes about fresh starts and resilience. Good for her, I said, smiling. She'll need both. I leaned back in my chair and looked out the window. Somewhere downtown, behind a newly patched wall, two people were learning that you can't build a future on a foundation you flooded yourself. I didn't feel triumphant, just free. For the first time in years, my security system wasn't just protecting my home, it was reflecting it. Safe, empty, mine. It's strange how quiet peace can sound when you've been living beside noise for years. 2 weeks passed after the flood. I didn't check on Julian, didn't track him, didn't scroll. Silence is addictive once you stop mistaking it for loneliness. Then, one morning, my phone buzzed with a message from Mia. Check Instagram, you'll want coffee first. Curiosity 1. Julian's ex, Sophie, was tagged in a photo she hadn't meant to make public. Her ex, Derek, arm around her at a cabin, captioned, "Weekend getaway with my favorite person." No Julian in sight. No trace of the man who'd chosen nostalgia over respect. I set my coffee down and just exhaled. Not laughter, not satisfaction, just the quiet click of closure locking into place. Later that night, Mia dropped by with takeout and a grin. You've seen it? She asked. Everyone's seen it, I said. Does it feel good? I thought about it. It feels fair. 3 days later, I ran into Emma, one of Sophie's coworkers, at a client networking event. She looked like someone who'd been dying to spill tea politely. I shouldn't say this, she began. Always the sign someone definitely will. But apparently Sophie moved in with Julian after the flood. Thought they were back together. And 3 days later, Derek came back into the picture. Julian had to pack up and leave. She winced. He's been staying with a friend. Sophie's living at a budget hotel near the mall. I nodded, expression neutral. Hope the plumbing's better there. Emma laughed, covering her mouth. You're colder than I remember. I'm warmer to people who deserve it. When I got home, the air smelled like rain and clean paint, the scent of my own timeline. I didn't feel vindictive. I just felt done. 6 months later, my business was thriving. The company had landed 3 new contracts, and Mia had convinced me to actually take a vacation, a concept I used to associate with guilt. One afternoon, my inbox pinged. Subject line, old jacket. The sender was Julian Cross. Hey, I found one of your jackets in a box of mine. Do you want it back? I stared at the message for a long moment, then replied with one line. Donate it. He didn't respond. That evening, I took my car out to the coast, drove until city lights thinned into horizon, rolled down the window, and let salt air replace the leftover dust of what used to be a story. Back home, my phone chimed again. A new name, Derek Blake, Sophie's ex. I almost ignored it until curiosity pried the lid open. Hi, Kira. I heard what happened. Just wanted to say, that was legendary. Brutal, but honest. I hope you're doing okay. I smiled, not because I cared about his opinion, but because the universe had a sense of symmetry. I'm good, I texted back. Peace suits me better than payback. He replied, that's rare. Most people want the last word. I already had it. It was goodbye. A few weeks later, Mia and I met for drinks. She raised her glass toward me, eyes soft behind her grin. To your quiet comeback, she said. Quiet? I smiled. That was an explosion. Maybe, she said, but you didn't have to light the match. They brought the gasoline. We laughed until the bartender gave up pretending not to listen. That night, alone in my house, I stood by the security panel again. Same display, same soft blue glow. But this time, I didn't check the logs. I didn't need to. I turned off the screen, poured another glass of wine, and walked barefoot through my hallway. Every sound was mine again. The whisper of curtains, the hum of the fridge, the creak that meant the wood-remembered footsteps. Julian once told me, maturity meant staying calm when people disappointed you. He forgot that sometimes maturity is walking away before they get the chance. I looked around my living room, at the clean lines and quiet light, the kind of stillness I used to confuse with emptiness. Peace, it turned out, wasn't boring. It was earned. I lifted my glass toward no one in particular and whispered, "Happy belated birthday, Kira." The wish had already come true.